Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Outdoor Adventures podcast right here on Brownfield Ag News. I'm Brent Barnett. Today's show is brought to you by Beck's Hybrids. This season, Beck's is recognizing student athletes who are not just stars in athletics, but players who show heart in school, at work, in their communities, and in the ag industry. Here on this week's show, I'm joined by Noel Gandy from Buck Ventures and a hunter from Iowa. He's been on the show several times in the past. Noel, thanks for coming back on the program. How are you doing today, man?
I'm great, Brent. I find it very interesting that that your partner for today is supporting high-end athletes, because that's, at the end of the day, that's where I consider myself, high-end athlete. And so I felt like it's very fitting. By the way, I'm the farthest thing from that, just for what it's worth.
Oh, geez. Yeah, you probably have like Mississippi state record for sacks in a game.
You know what? I didn't play football. I did play a little golf, Brent, in college, and that has carried me. It served me well. It served me well over the past 20 years or so of life, whereas I don't know that football would have served me quite as well. But I don't think that we came here to talk about golf. And so forgive me for distracting.
No, you're totally fine. We do appreciate Beck's sponsorship of the program here today. Again, check them out there at Beck's Hybrids. Noel, I wanted to talk to you about your latest episode that you've had come out on TV here lately. So just for some background, Noel had a really cool deer hunting episode come out on Buck Ventures, and it's a hunt from this past 2024 hunting season. Man, what a cool production that was put together. Tell us more for the people that maybe missed it.
That's exciting to see, because I work for Buck Ventures in a remote, kind of a remote way, some human resource type stuff. And for the past couple of years, I've been able to document my hunting season, and they have used the footage from the year to produce episodes. And just a couple of weeks ago, more or less, I think there are 13 or 18 national episodes that Buck Ventures puts out. So it was kind of an honor for me for them to choose my season to be able to kind of display as one of their. There's only a few episodes, so one of those. And man, yeah, it's kind of a roller coaster deal where our mutual friend Lance and I, we hunt together quite a bit, and he and I were chasing a giant in Kansas, so we got to document that, and had a little mishap with what we supposed was EHD. I got something cool to tell you though about that, where my target deer here in Iowa that I'd been babying for 3 years, we found him dead in a neighbor's field. And so that was kind of documented all along. And then got to spend the late part of the gun season with my brother, who he's the one that took me hunting for the very first few times. He and my dad. My brother's 12 years older than I am. So, I'm little bitty fella. He's let me tag along in his late teen years. So he kind of showed me the ropes in hunting. And so for him to get to go, and he was an active hunter, but he was with me when I got a really, really nice buck to end the gun season. It's kind of icing on the cake. So I was able to put together a harvest, thankfully. But no, Brent, the fun thing that I was going to tell you, and on our podcast, Lance and I have a podcast, the Hunting Heritage Podcast. We dive into that just a little bit. But after that episode airs, it's on national television for several weeks. And when that rotation goes out, we're allowed to share it onto the YouTube platform. So it made it to YouTube as well. And it's got several thousand views on it, but some were local views here to me. And a neighbor called and said, hey, a coworker of mine saw the episode, said I should take a look at it. And long story short, the neighbor is the one who shot the deer that we found dead. It wasn't disease. How the conservation officer and I had determined that it was disease because it had been so rampant. And where we found the deer next to a pond, every indicator that it was disease. But he said, no, man, I shot this deer. He started sending me trail camera pictures of him. And funny enough, the last day of trail camera picture I have of that deer is on the day that the kid or the young guy got an arrow in him. and he died out in some really tall CRP. So he kind of lost him. It's tough to find him. So I'm going to hopefully get to reunite him with what will be, has to be one of his better deer. I'm guessing it's a really, really nice buck. So kind of the story continued almost even after production.
Wow, what a cool update.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of gives some closure to the whole situation.
It did. It was bittersweet. Because I will definitely surrender, the rack and everything to this young man. He deserves it. But one of the great things, Brent, we have suffered EHD so bad here in the southwestern corner of Iowa that it was almost like a pleasant surprise that, like, well, thank goodness that wasn't it. That got another deer, because it was late November, and our CO said that they were still seeing cases even in that late November timeframe last year. So that was kind of a pleasant thing. Maybe it's off my farm now.
Well, good on you, man, for helping them out and surrendering, like you said, because I was just watching an episode here recently on Bill Winke's YouTube channel, and he was discussing some deer he had arrowed in the past, and one that wasn't ever on camera was this big buck. I don't know if it was maybe close to 190 or right around that range. And he talked about that he got an arrow in him, thought it was a good shot, and never ended up finding it. And I think he said that the neighbor found it later during shed season or something like that, and would never give it up. He even offered to pay for it, and they wouldn't give it up. But you just never know, right? But good on you is what I'm trying to say.
I appreciate that. No, that's too bad. I've had that experience one time, and it would have been my first ever Kansas buck. And we tracked the deer through several beds, and we're to the point of saying we need to back out before we jump him. And like, as the words are coming out of our mouth, we jumped him, and he was in his final bed. I mean, he could not have lost much more blood, but he jumped just into the neighbor. And in Kansas, you had to have permission or have them go with you. And that guy was like, no, I'll go find him for you. And he said he never found him, but I know he did. And that's too bad. No, I mean, good on him. I want him to have it. And so it's, I don't know. If nothing else, I didn't know this person before. And now I get to know one of my neighbors. I honestly didn't know anyone was hunting that property. I've always kind of had my eye on it even. But to know my neighbor, to know that they are actively hunting quality deer, we share some of the same management ideas of wanting to shoot older deer. I was very happy to share trail camera photos, and he did with me, and share like some ideas of how we were going to go about attacking this year. So I considered an ally. We're kind of in it for the same reasons. And if I can help him, that's awesome. And no doubt there's some chance he could help me out too. So just being a good person, I think, goes a long way in life, Brent.
Noel, one of my big takeaways from your episode, your TV episode, was the amount of times you hunted from the ground last year. Mm-hmm. Not only just with a gun when you got your buck, but early in the season with a bow when you went to Kansas. And then I think you even may have had a couple hunts here with a bow in Iowa on the ground. Talk about that aspect. Is that normal for you? Do you like to hunt from the ground?
Last year, my mantra was ground and pound. And something about it, some of the instances you're talking about were in blinds. So just to clarify there, I prefer in quite a few instances being in a ground blind, but for very particular instances, where I hunt here in Iowa and in my timber, I will say, I can't do a whole lot of manipulating because it doesn't belong to me as permission pieces or leased pieces. And so I can't manipulate the terrain too terribly much. And I've just learned over the years, deer where they really want to be, and I can see a lot of deer. It's not conducive for a tree stand, Brent, because the canopy is too thick. And so I have to be underneath the canopy to be able to see and to shoot much past 20 yards. And so that's it's kind of an on purpose, an intentional reason, not just a preference so much. And Kansas was the same thing, but for the opposite reason. in Kansas, that particular place, when the leaves come off the trees, it is so exposed. It just I look like a whale on a toothpick out on that thing, man. And so just to have some cover in a very, very wide open timber bottom, we chose to, because we got camera equipment and stuff like that. It's just, there's more than just a person sitting there or hanging there. So we chose to go the route of the ground blind. I did elevate it 3 feet. We built a platform and put it up just a little bit to get out of the deer's line of sight. But I do, man. I hunted off the ground a couple of times, rattled a buck in on the ground like an exposed ground setup this year. That was probably, he's a 3-year-old, like 110-inch 8-point, and I was shook, dude. It was so cool to rattle that deer in and him come into 10 or 12 yards and just thinking he was the bull of the woods. That is a great desire of mine, is to shoot a deer off the ground, exposed, meaning like not in a blind. And I really want to do it with a decoy. That's kind of a, I don't know, just a little bucket list goal. And I have that set for this year.
That's awesome, man. What went into your thought process? I think it was maybe the Kansas hunt when you were going after that really big buck, that I think you guys moved the blind during the day, right?
That was a calculated risk. And it was a wind issue. Every wind that we kept getting was swirling down in this bottom. And while, if you're just looking at a map, it looks like, oh, perfect spot for perfect wind. It wasn't until we got down in there that we realized, and we're like sitting there, that we realized, oh, if he comes where we think he's going to come, we'll never kill him. And so the cool thing, the day that we moved the blind, and it was a massive deal because we had to pick up that whole that whole platform and everything. But the only reason we felt like we could get away with it is because we physically saw the buck visibly, go into a thicket, and we kind of thought we knew where he was going. And so we thought, well, if we know 100% he's there, then he can't see us. And so we moved it. And my experience with blinds, you mentioned Bill Winke, he kind of champions this, is once they kind of get used to them, you can generally move them a little bit. Now his context is usually more like in an open ag field or something like that. Let them get used to it, then move it. But we weren't sure how that was going to work out, and it probably actually bit us just a touch, because every deer came in and the blind didn't bother him, but the big one, and he stayed 70 yards or so away from us. And let it get like he honed in on the blind pretty hard, and he let it get dark before he came in. We just ran out of light, but he was waiting for it to get dark before he would come in, where he had been coming into that camera. In Kansas, you can feed, so we had some attractant out, and he had been coming in every day before dark, and it was like, if you don't move it, he's going to wind you, and then you probably have boogered it like forever. If you do move it, maybe he spooks off the blind, but he still probably will stay in the area. And that's what ended up happening. He boogered off the blind just a little bit, but he hung around. Our time just kind of ran out in Kansas to be able to hunt him. I only had so much time I could hunt him there.
I'll call my shot here this year for you. You're gonna get one with a bow, like tucked up under a cedar tree or something, and you're gonna get it done.
I appreciate that. I take a lot of I don't know the direction from you. That's kind of your thing, right? Aren't you a big ground and pound guy?
That I've been doing that the last 3 or 4 years. Finally paid off last year. Got my first. It was a tale of two firsts. First buck from the ground with a bow, without a blind, and also my first public land buck. So that was really cool.
Your name was mentioned on one of my hunts this past year multiple times. You were the energy that I needed came from your success to go and attack some public ground with my friend Zach Ripperger. and he and I went out and on the ground on the edge of a food plot, set up and just about got it done. It would have been my first time out, and I thought, man, Brent, like, the boy has got it down if he can get a deer killed on the ground on public, because this is hard. This is tough, man. And so you were the energy I needed to try anyway.
Right or wrong, my approach to it has been I hunt over like where I think they're going to be traveling through in bow range, and maybe there's only one small hole that I'll be able to see the deer. Because I feel like on the ground, they can recognize what's out of place really fast. Mm-hmm. And so I'll get in something really thick, and I may only have one tiny window to shoot through. And there are some pros and cons to that. One, you can catch them by surprise, and you can be drawn back and draw back before they see you. Number two, I have to hold the bow the whole hunt and be ready with my release clicked. I'll sit there for 3 or 4 hours like this, with my bow and ready.
Man,
because
good on you.
The buck that I took last year, when I first saw him, he was at like 18 yards when I first saw him.
Wow.
I ended up shooting him at 35 because he kind of ventured out away from me and then worked back into my shot opening, and he was at 35 at that point.
Can I recommend Hoyt's Ghost Sticks to you? Those are the Ghost Sticks are incredible. You can stay hooked on, but at least you can set the bow down. Those have been a game changer for me. That's several other companies make things like that too. But
yeah. That way it doesn't doesn't mess with the limbs of the bow, right? It doesn't stress them out.
No, not at all. This attaches right to the front stabilizer, and you prop it up in such a way. And I tell you what, it really changed a lot for me just using those Ghost Sticks this past year.
I will tell you, so many failures along the way led to that successful hunt last year, one of which was right in your neck of the woods when I was living back in your area, Noel.
Yeah.
So this would have been, over 5 years ago now, and piece of public land down that way. It was one of my first years hunting on the ground. Similar thing that I'm discussing. Like, I set up where I had one shot opening, and I was in some like taller canary grass in a slough, waiting in the morning. It was November 22nd. Never forget it. And this buck that came through that morning was just so big, man. And when I say that, I bet he was upper 150s. No. And I've never killed a buck that big before.
Yeah.
The doe he was with a doe that morning. It was like 7:30 a.m. Sun was just starting to really shine, where you can feel it on your neck and everything. She went right through the opening, and just call it being caught in the moment and just watching in awe, being that close to a buck at 20 yards on the ground. And before I realized I missed my opportunity to draw back, he was already standing in the window to shoot. And I was just got caught looking. I'll just be honest. I was just watching him. And,
you won't ever forget it though, man. You won't ever forget it. That deer, he'll grow in your mind for the rest of your life. He'll be 190 by the time you die, in your mind. That happens though. Isn't that cool though, that we can, that's what I think is so special about hunting in general, is that we can get just so enamored and caught up in things like that. What else as adults do we have to get caught up in, right? Or we have our families, our kids, and sports are important to some, or jobs are important to some, but like there's something about creation and wildlife that just is awe-inspiring, and that to me, that's what makes it so special.
Yeah. And as I was pulling back on that buck last year, I was thinking of that moment from 5 or 6 years ago. That whole time, I'm not letting this, I'm not going to screw this up this time.
There you go. We learn from our past. I'm not going to say mistakes, but from our, if you're not learning, you're going backwards.
Exactly. Noel, that'll probably wrap it up here on our show this week. But, man, if people want to watch the episode we've been talking about, because you do end up killing a nice buck with a gun or muzzleloader in the late season, right? How do people watch it if they want to see it?
No, I appreciate you mentioning that. I did. I got some vindication. It was actually the second gun season. It was the last day. I used a 350 Legend to be able to get that deer. The episode airs sporadically on Outdoor Channel. Buck Ventures is I think 7:30 on Thursday evenings is their main showing, and then there's some other times throughout the week. However, that is every 13th week. So the best way right now is on the Buck Ventures YouTube channel. And you kind of have to search down through there a little bit because they've released a couple of other episodes since mine. But it's the only Iowa episode for last year. And so that will be one way to find it. But yeah, Buck Ventures YouTube page is the best way, Brent.
Noel Gandy joining us from Buck Ventures. Thanks for coming on the show again. Good to hear from you, man.
Yeah, my pleasure. Anytime, Brent.
And we do appreciate you joining us here on the Outdoor Adventures podcast each week. You can catch all the episodes on the Brownfield Ag News YouTube channel or wherever you get your audio podcasts as well. I'm Brent Barnett here with Brownfield Ag News. Have a great weekend.